Curtain Call Conversations. I'm here today with Oliver Mawdsley, who will be starring as Seymour in the new production of The Little Shop of Horrors, which opens at the new Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich from the 1st of March. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. How are you?
Good, yes, very well indeed. I mean, already you have the look of Seymour, I have to say. So tell us all about, I mean, this is my favourite musical of all time, I'll tell you that. So I'm very excited about this show. So I'm assuming you're well into rehearsals now. So let us know all about that process for you.
Well, it's been great so far. Yeah, we're in week 3 of rehearsals at the moment. So first 3 weeks from Bolton, and then we moved down to Ipswich for the last week of rehearsals, and then the tech, and then opening. So it's been first week was just spent on music because this is quite an interesting version of the show in that it's acting musician.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've got all the Renettes are playing guitars, bass guitars, and pianos, and a couple of the other characters are also acting musos as well. So it's all brought together. So the first week was just entirely music, and it's been really great to hear it all coming together right from the start, which is not normally something that you hear until the tech, maybe the rehearsal just before the tech. So it's been
Sure.
great.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, are you a fan of the original film?
I have to admit, I prefer the musical.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, when you say the original film, do you mean like the original black and white?
Oh no, no, sorry. When I say original, I mean the Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene
Right.
film. Yeah, that's
I
my
mean,
original.
it's a really, really great musical, great film adaptation of it. But I
Yeah.
still, too many things had to be changed for it, and I think I
Mm,
just prefer the original as it was intended by the authors.
sure. Yeah. I mean, your portrayal of Seymour, is he different than what we may have seen in that film version, or have you brought something different to him, or is he still the same?
I think well, I think he is still by and large the same. I mean, it's difficult because, like you say, it's your favorite musical, and people come to see shows. They have a certain expectation,
Mm,
and to completely defy that or undermine it would take away from the enjoyment. So, yeah, there are definitely elements that I've taken from the film, from Rick Moranis, and from other versions that I've seen of it. But
yeah.
also, trying to bring a bit of myself to it as well. So, a bit of a mix.
Sure. I mean, do you have a favourite song? I mean, as we know, Ellen Menken wrote the songs for the film, and they are iconic. I mean, I love every single one of them. But do you have a particular favourite? Maybe that either you perform or you don't, which is the favourite.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's actually the Dentist song, which I know is not one of my songs, but I love it.
Oh,
It's
it's
just so
brilliant. Yeah,
fun and camp, and there's just so much to it. It's just
yeah.
such a ridiculous song. And Matt Hanley, who plays the dentist in this version, is fantastic at it. He gets the character absolutely spot on.
Yeah, it's definitely a moment, isn't it? I mean, that particular song is brilliant. Now, of course, Little Shop of Horrors would be nothing without Audrey too. So can we talk about Audrey too? I don't want you to spoil it for everybody, but what can we expect from Audrey too?
I mean, Audrey 2 is brilliant. The not to spoil it, but it
Yeah,
is a puppet, obviously.
yeah,
So it's been slowly being built according to what we need it to do. And I think the puppet is perhaps one of the most interesting parts of this version of it,
yeah,
that set aside from other versions, because it's not the normal puppet mounted on a wall and then things happening there. It's a lot more movable. It's a lot more. I mean, it doesn't move out of its pot, obviously, but there's a lot more to it. There's so much more flexibility. So we're still exploring
right.
exactly what it can do. It's still being built, but it's been built specifically with this production in mind.
Yeah.
So it's really flexible. You've got a different Matthew is inside puppeteering it, and then you've got Anton Stevens, who is the voice of Audrey too, and it's a fantastic combination. It's a fantastic combination.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to hear it. I mean, it's an iconic voice, isn't it?
Yeah,
Audrey has, and I'm sure Anton will do a brilliant job. Having seen him in a couple of productions, actually, I know that he'll do a great job with the voice. So what's the process like for you bringing it from rehearsal onto stage? I mean, I know you've done quite a few sort of straight plays as well. So is this your first musical, or have you done musical theatre before?
no, no, I've been lucky enough to have a pretty varied career so
Yeah,
far. A mixture of plays and Shakespeare and musicals alongside a few other bits and
yeah.
pieces. Um, Yeah, it's always hard because it changes from project to project.
Mm.
But I think more than anything else, treating the songs are important. The music is really, really important, but also it's important not to treat the text and the music separately. You have to
Mm.
bring everything in together, and there's so much information in the music that help bring the character to life. So we're still going through the first run through, the first blocking, because it's an incredibly, incredibly technical show. There
Yeah.
are so many small bits that have to be done. So once we've got the framework, the scaffolding, if you like, then we can start fleshing it out and smoothing out the journeys. But it's a very similar process all in all. Once you've got the music learnt and down, and once you know what you're doing with it,
Yeah.
there's just a few more dances in musicals than there are in plays, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you have a preference at all between musicals or just plays?
I'll be honest, it's musicals. I enjoy them so much more.
Mm.
Obviously, there are differences and there are pros and cons of each, but that they're both fulfilling the same role. It's just that with musicals, I think you've got that extra support there. It's like the
Mm.
drama is crystallized within the song, and that's really, really fun because you're playing a very pure version of it. And I like that. I like what
Yeah.
that brings to what else is happening.
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned the music before, it's actor muso, which is brilliant. I love to see that on stage. I mean, can we expect the same? I mean, it's a very doo-wop style, I would say, of music. Can we expect that same style?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're
Brilliant.
following the original 1982, 1983, 1985 scores, so that the music that's there is the same. It's the same sounds.
Yeah,
Um, uh, we've got two keyboards playing, and they're using like authentic sounds from that period to patch in.
yeah.
So you'll get that original sound. It's not we haven't updated the orchestration.
Mm.
It is that original sound.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, that's great to hear because I think the sound is just really important to the. I just marries so well, I think, to the story and the style of the story. So that is great to know. So this is going on a tour. Sort of a. It's not coming anywhere near Birmingham, which I'm very disappointed about. So if you could put a word in with somebody, I would
I will put
appreciate
a word
that.
in.
But what's touring like for you? Have you done a tour like this before?
I've actually never done a tour this big before.
Okay.
As in, I've done a two or three different venues, but this is five different venues from
Yeah.
literally the length and breadth of the country.
Mm.
So touring is interesting. It's really interesting because when you go to different places, different audiences respond in vastly different ways to different
Yeah.
jokes.
Yeah.
Things that wouldn't be funny in one place are funny somewhere else, or they react differently to a particular line or a particular theme. They
Yeah.
engage more with one character over another. It's a really interesting process, and to be honest, it helps keep things quite fresh,
Yeah.
particularly in a show like Little Shop of Horrors, where the lyrics and the libretto are so concise. It's an absolute joy to perform. There's
Yeah.
nothing woolly about them. Everything is precise. And so when you've got such a well constructed piece of theatre, everything everything changes. Everything is so
Mm.
nuanced. There's so much joy to be found in there. And that's one of the great things about touring is that you have the opportunity to find it, to find these new avenues to explore with the character.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively sort of small cast, isn't it? There's only 9 of you, I believe. So going out on the road, I would imagine it's quite a tight, you become quite a tight-knit sort of family, I would think.
You do. You do. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think it's the same with all theatre, regardless of whether it's a tour or not. I mean,
Mm.
if you're working in London, it's slightly different, but particularly if you're working more in regional theatres or in touring theatres, your cast become your family for however long that job lasts.
Yeah.
You look after each other, you take care of each other. You'll have your personal crises, and everyone else will help you, and
Yeah.
vice versa. It's the thing I love about theatre. It is your family. And then
Yeah.
the end of the tour comes and you all disperse, and then you might see each other 10 years later, and it's like nothing's changed, apart
Yeah.
from maybe your back goes or your knee's gone or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, your career has been very varied. We
Hmm.
saw the production, one of my reviewers saw the production of Boys from the Black Stuff at the Royal Court in Liverpool, which he absolutely adored. Like, he loved that show. So, I mean, that's quite a different sort of vibe, isn't it, to this? I mean, how do you feel about that sort of play? Do you enjoy the sort of maybe sort of intricacies of the text and sort of the atmosphere that sort of play brings? I mean, do you find that a rewarding sort of job to do?
I do. I mean, the Black Stuff was an incredibly rewarding job. I mean, you can't tell from my accent at the moment, but I'm from Liverpool originally, and doing that show was the first time I've been back performing in Liverpool since I left when I was 18 to go to drama school. I mean, I live there now still, but it was such a specifically Liverpool story. There was so much heart to it, and being in an auditorium with a 1,000 audience on their feet because they understand what went behind it. It was so rewarding, and it was amazing to have such a brilliant cast. The cast were great, and so we talked a little bit about the nuance that you can like pick out nuance. The script was so beautifully written, so beautifully adapted. We had both James Graham and Alan Bleasdale in the room, editing, changing, adding scenes in, taking bits out, just changing a word here and there to make it as tight as possible. So when you're working with a phenomenal cast, with a phenomenal script, there's so much enjoyment to be found. There's so much exploration, even though the scene feels quite set. Like on an emotional level, there's so much to explore. I mean, that was a brilliant show. A really brilliant show.
Yeah, it was a complete triumph. I mean, we, as I say, we went and reviewed it, and it was just, he was totally bowled over with the whole show. He thought, being a Scouser himself, he was he definitely loved that one. So I know you've got to hot-foot it back to rehearsal. So I mean, just to recap, a new Wolsey Theatre will be your opening venue for Little Shop of Horrors from the 1st to the 23rd of March. I'll put the other dates on the next slide. But it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I wish you all the best with the show. Can't wait to see it. I'm sure I'll come to one of the venues because I can't resist. But good luck with it all.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.